Welcome to the woods, and I apologise for not getting a video out last Tuesday. It was an incredibly busy week finalising land deals for the Woodlander initiative. Sadly, the third plot we'd put an offer in, we were outbid. Not unusual in this day and age, but it's not the end of the world. We viewed another 2 plots on Sunday, and we've got several others to go and look at over the coming weeks. But it was busy, dealing with solicitors to do with the company, dealing with solicitors to do with the land sale. It was kind of full on, but it's done, and the money was transferred, the deal is concluded. As much as the contracts were signed way back when, it still took an inordinate amount of time to finalise everything, but that's done. And in the last video I spoke about, I spent a weekend down at the land in Wales, and what a tremendous experience it was to work with and enjoy time with 50 members who all want the same thing, who all wanted to help to build something. And today I'm going to talk about power on different levels. It's a subject that is going to be spoken about quite a lot. It's nice to be back outside, isn't it? I think I did the last one inside, and the weather's quite good today. Anyway, power, both for yourself and for the country, for us as a group. What is power? How do we gain power? Where does power come from? On an individual basis, it's a peculiar thing, because we equate power and success, and I think along the way success has lost its true meaning. Too often success is tied in with the trinkets and consumables to the cars and the flash clothes, and that's not really what success is all about. Success is really an individual thing. It's about gaining the things, and I don't mean trinkets, that you want out of life, what makes you happy, and being able to do that. And deep down I think we all understand that. We understand that everything's been commodified, that we live in a society that is built upon buying stuff and showing off, and none of that is really important. There's 3 main things you need in life, 4 really, but you need shelter, you need water, and you need food. And if you've got that nailed down, everything else is a bonus. The 4th thing, of course, is company. We thrive on interaction with people like ourselves. We are built to be couples, to have families, to have friendships, and that's important as well. There's nothing worse than loneliness. So food, shelter, water, and friendship, company. And if you have that, you're successful. Sadly today, all of that comes down to, too often, it comes down to finance and money. In order to get the shelter, either renting or buying, you're going to need vast sums of money. Ever increasing amounts, to the point now where people in their 20s and 30s are spending all of their money just to have somewhere to live, on rent. They don't own it, they never will, and they can't see a way forward. And if they're lucky enough to get into a relationship where they have two incomes coming in, they know they're not going to be able to save enough to get a deposit for a house. So they become despondent and they fritter away that little money they have got on things that give them instant gratification, on trinkets, on computer games, on holidays, on meals out, and their lifestyle seems quite flamboyant from the outside. But in reality, they're left with nothing. And again, this empty feeling of never moving forward. And I've spoken to people in that situation, and it's not good. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. So those outward trappings of success, those smart shoes, fast car, weekends away, are copes. It's what they do to cope with the fact that there's no way forward. Dogs off. And that's not success. That's a shame. But does it have to be like that? Well, in the society we live in, then yes, it does, because if you align yourself with the way things are, that's the way it is. And I hear that being said more and more often. It's just the way things are. Well, most of you know the way I live. I took a different path. I bought some land, I built a home. I don't have electricity bills, I don't have water rates, I don't have rent, I don't have a mortgage, which gives me many, many more options. Do I work the same amount and have more money, or do I spend more time doing what I enjoy and have the ability to not work as often? Being able to do the things you enjoy because you don't have to work is much more successful than flashy shoes and a fast car. And it's possible for nearly everyone to put themselves into that position if they wanted to. And I've covered in numerous videos the reasons why you could do what I've done and how you could do what I've done. And I heard a lot of arguments in the past of I couldn't afford to buy land, I can't afford to save, and it's all possible. I've covered it before, I'm not going to cover it again here. But it's strange how these things can be extrapolated, how you can expand them out to explain things on a wider scale. I was reading this morning that the UK is the third largest importer of food and drinks in the world. The third largest. And the reason for that is because we're not self-sufficient. Because we don't grow our own food. Because we don't produce our own consumables, our own edibles, our own drinks. And the government is actively trying to reduce farming further, encouraging farmers to get out of farming and diversify into solar farms and wind farms and anything else. A golden handshake just to walk away from your lifestyle, from the farm, from those things that produce what very little food we're still producing. And this has been going on for a long while, since the 1980s. And it's not going to stop, because that's the agenda, is to have us completely reliant on other nations, on other companies, on other institutions for everything. For everything that's really important. And I contrast the way we live today in society with that weekend in Wales and those 50 people who worked all weekend for no financial remuneration, who were happy to help. And I remember looking around the campfire at the tents and thinking, if they were homes, we would probably still be doing what we're doing now. Sat around a campfire, laughing, joking, discussing how we move forward, what we can do as a group to make things better for each other. And that's not the way we're taught to live. And maybe it should be. And what has all of that got to do with power? Well, the first thing is, if you're self-sufficient, you become more powerful. You become more powerful in your own life. You can do more things. You can achieve more. You have more time and you have more money. It's the two things we need most. Time and money. And usually there's a payoff between those two. Either you've got a lot of time but no money, or you make a lot of money but you've got no time because you're spending all your time making it. So personal power in your own life can come from self-sufficiency, from taking steps into that direction to limit the amount you're reliant on others. Because if you're reliant on others, they're going to want you to pay for it. And if you've got to pay for it, you're going to have to go and work for it. And if you're going out and working for it, that's not your choice. You're doing it because you have to. It's going to take up your time. And you don't get to keep the money. You've now got to give them that money to provide you with the things you're not prepared to provide for yourself. So you can take power back. And as a country, it's completely possible to do the same thing. In fact, it should be the number one objective of any government, is to make the country as self-sufficient as possible, so that we are not reliant on other nations for anything. And that includes other nations' people. We should train our own to do the jobs that are available. We all understand that. And that'll bring me to the third part of this, which is I've been told that living the way I do and expanding that into groups of people living a better life won't change things in the long run, because the only way to do that is through political power. And when I say political power, I mean traditional party politics. Form a political party or join a political party, gain power, and then as the ruling party change laws and legislation to make things better. And that's an understandable route, one that has been blocked from anyone outside of the system for quite some time. And I've discussed this in numerous videos. And change. A lot of people, usually from the left, talk about revolution and the working class rising up and taking control. And throughout history, it would seem that those things are usually guided by an elite, by a counter-elite. Many of you would have read The Populist Delusion by Nima Parvini. Great little book. And he explains in that how throughout history it's been elites that have guided, encouraged, coerced change, even when it seems like it's from the bottom up. And many people hear that and don't quite understand what an elite is. These groups of people are rarely born into elitism. Sometimes they are, but not often. What he's talking about there is a powerful group of people. And in this day and age, and for quite some time now, power comes from finances and influence. You can become an elite group. You can become a powerful organisation, a group which is financially powerful and wields influence. And I think you're beginning to see the start of that. I think you're beginning to see people looking at alternative routes to power. An alternative from the traditional party politics. Where we can become a counter-elite, a powerful group. And that's not necessarily political. I was speaking to someone the other day and we were discussing how this works. And I pointed out that in America, when Trump was running for president, he was really an alternative to the traditional party game. he wasn't a politician, or he wasn't seen as a politician. He was a billionaire, a flamboyant extrovert, but he was different. He was an alternative. He was a counter elite to the traditional parties, even though he ran in a traditional party. And much of the hype and much of the excitement around that was because he came from outside of the system, or was seen to come from outside of the system. So you can, and that wouldn't have been the same if he had been Joe Bloggs, a plumber. He wouldn't have garnered the same amount of enthusiasm, the same amount of excitement as he did as Donald Trump, the multi-billionaire or multi-millionaire. So his power didn't come from politics. His power came from financial security and his ability to influence. People listened to him because he was wealthy. People had seen him on TV, and he was put there because he was wealthy. So you can see that a counter elite doesn't necessarily, in the beginning, have to be political. It does, however, have to put itself into a position of power and influence. And you're seeing groups in the UK who are now starting to talk about civil rights movements, about advocacy for the British people. And these groups will gain influence. They can be the people talking to the press. They can be giving the point of view of the people when the political parties fail to do so. So power and influence doesn't have to be political. And it's interesting that this has been discussed quite a few times. It was Jonathan Bowden who gave a lengthy speech on vanguardism, on becoming a vanguard. And that's what we have to be. It doesn't have to be political, but we have to grow, we have to gain influence, and we have to be successful. And then we can act as a counter elite. Anyway, you lot, I'm off to do a bit more self-sufficiency. Got some tinkering to do with the generator yet again. Bane of my existence. But it's all fun, and I'd rather be doing that than working on a building site or sat in a call centre. I'll speak to you soon. See you soon.